Okay, so our group decided to take Citizen American Lyric and adapt it into a film. And so as you'll probably remember from the book, it was a compilation of the daily experiences of African Americans, focusing on microaggressions that they experienced every single day, and how that influenced their life. And our film adaptation followed a young, nameless girl as she grew up, and we utilized the experiences that Rankin described in the book, especially through the situation videos. But instead, our film sort of followed more of a single long situation video, or a bunch of situation videos compiled into one long thing. And even though we tried to make the video or the film more fluid than the book, we still focused on using hybridity. And the major point that we used to focus on hybridity was we used Rankin's voiceover for points that we felt that she believed were critical to the understanding of the mission that she was trying to achieve through her book, such as the point that Maggie used in the script where the girl is pulled over for no reason by the cop. And we also used hybridity and transitioning between poetic and common language in the dialogue. But overall, the film sort of manipulates Rankin's experiences into a more typical life progression. And also another really important thing that we focused on in the film was the setting. And it follows the girl as she goes through life and experiences more and more racism. And in the beginning, she grows up in a primarily white suburban area, and then she moves into a more diverse city. And the fact that she experiences racism wherever she goes brings up another major theme that we focused on in the film, which was the universality of the epidemic. And so for our film, we chose Barry Jenkins as our director, and he was the director of Moonlight, which follows a young, gay African-American youth who's brought up in a rough neighborhood and has to maneuver between racism and discovering his identity. And we felt that he was perfect for this because he focused on three major themes that we felt were really evident in Citizen and what we wanted to focus on, which were existential crisis, social inequality, and also the focus on shining the light on microaggressions. And additionally, we felt that he was perfect for this because this would only extend his career on transforming the psychology and the culture of our country in order to get rid of racism. And another important person that we put as part of our film was Lupita Nyong'o, who you guys might remember, who was, she played a really big role in 12 Years a Slave and won a bunch of awards for that. And she's perfect for this role because of the fact that she is a really big activist for female African Americans in the industry. And she actually plays the young teenage girl, which is the portion of the film.
So in our critical essay, we focused on three themes that Jenkins adapted from Citizen. And he does, the first one is invisibility. And he brings a poetic expression of invisibility that African American communities face. And we touched on this in class, but basically, if like a white person were to microaggressively say something to an African American, then often the aggressor doesn't think twice about the interaction, but the victim has to go throughout the whole day feeling invisible, and they can't talk to people about it because it would be deemed as like a simple misunderstanding. So they don't want to seem like they were too hurtful, but oftentimes they have to go throughout the day thinking about it. And this is what Rankin deems as a characteristic of white privilege, not having to think twice about what you say. And the second theme is injustice. And oftentimes there are racist encounters between African Americans and police officers that proceed unjustly. And Jenkins tries to highlight this in the movie when the young girl, she views events like Ferguson and fatal police shootings on the news. And we also put some of the clips from the situation videos like in the news that the little girl had to watch. And she also sees the tennis tournament with Serena Williams where she gets unfairly penalized and causes her to lose the match. And this is one of the clips from the situation video that she sees in the news. And it's pretty painful, so you look away if you don't want to see. This is just one instance of how the injustice around police officers and African Americans the last theme is universality. As a young girl in the movie, she grows up in a primarily white suburban area, and then this causes a lot of problems, and she faces microaggressions and racist encounters throughout her life. And in order to get away from it, she tries to move to the city when she's an adult, and she realizes that everywhere you go, you're going to experience racism, and that it's a universal problem in America. And the fact that the young girl remains anonymous throughout the movie is Jenkins' way of trying to relay the message that any marginalized ethnicity is subject to these microaggressions.
So as you can see on the cover that you have in front of you, I tried to really sort of mirror Rankin's book cover. So I did that by using the same font and title style of Citizen. And then I also tried to mirror that on the back cover, where I kept it really simplistic and black and white, just as her book cover is. And I also wanted to tie in the fact that she uses that black hood as such a distinctive image on her front cover. While I don't use the hood, I do use this little girl's face. It's still a black and white image. It's still pretty striking. It's not quite as sharply contrasted as her book cover is, but it still ties in with that image, that really striking black and white image. And then in addition to that, I wanted to tie in those two of the themes that we've been talking about so far, which is invisibility and injustice. And so the invisibility comes from the fact that there's this little girl who you don't know her name, and she's not even featured in the film like this picture, but she still stands to represent this innocence that Rankin sees of her peers, where they didn't do anything to deserve this racism against them. And yet they're still getting it. So the little girl represents that that innocence, the invisibility, that we don't know who she is, but we feel for her. Her expression is really impactful. It seems very defiant. I think that's also interesting because it's right behind the flag, so it looks like she's almost defying against the American flag. The American flag ties in as well because with that theme of injustice, the way the image is laid out, it looks like the little girl is behind bars. Which again ties back into the fact that she's innocent, she didn't do anything to deserve this, and yet the American justice system is impacting blacks in a negative way, and that's what Rankin was trying to show with her book. Again, on the back cover, I tried to sort of just juxtapose this idea of crime and injustice against innocent black victims. And so I have the police line and the American flag as a way to, again, just symbolize that the American justice system is not fair to black people, and that they're innocent, and the fact that they are sort of, as seen in this image, stuck behind bars, they're sort of trapped as a citizen in their own country.
For the special feature, we decided to do a script from one of the scenes in the film. We thought this would give an interesting and unique representation of the director's perspective. So Barry Jenkins had such a profound movie with Moonlight that we thought this would give an interesting representation of his point of view. And so we chose a scene of later on in the girl's life when she's driving a car and she's pulled over by the police and treated unjustly. So going along with the scene, that she saw when she was younger of the person getting shot, so police brutality. And this scene is kind of like a culmination of a lot of microaggressions that she experiences when she was younger, but more aggressive. And this focuses on the the theme of injustice, kind of unprecedented aggression from police, and also racial profiling and unfair treatment, and also universality of this. It can happen to many people, and also it does